Hello. So now that I am away from the ashram, I thought I will film one video just summarizing how the experience was, how I felt then, how I feel now. And even though I shared a lot in the stories, I just want to put it all in one video. But if you want more detailed information and pictures, moments I captured from my time in the ashram, you should check my stories. I put them into highlights. So there is Isha Ashram and Isha Ashram 2. So check them out if you're interested. Firstly, an overview about my schedule and the ashram. So we would get up at 4:45 a.m. Someone comes in, turns on the lights, puts on a beautiful mantra, and we just get up and start our practices. Some people continue sleeping, so they will leave the bedroom and sleep somewhere in the hall, the corridor, because bedrooms are locked throughout the day. So if you want to rest, you'll need to find another place. So our practices in the morning, our sadhana, can take anywhere between 30 minutes, 2 hours. It really depends on the person and what they're practicing. One thing that everyone practices in the ashram is Shambhavi Mahamudra Kriya. You can learn it online or you can learn it at the ashram, but you need to know it before coming to volunteer at the ashram. It's like one of the requirements. And it's about 20-30 minute long practice that includes asanas, breath work, and meditation. So you do this twice a day, once in the morning and once in the evening. And other practices really depend on what you've learned, what programs you've attended at the ashram. When I came there, I noticed that everyone is only practicing Sadhguru's practices, which I've not done. So I was practicing Hatha Yoga because I thought it's the closest to what they teach there, because Hatha Yoga basics will be the same everywhere. And then once I've completed a couple programs there, I tried practicing some of that as well. So after you're done with your morning practices, you go to your seva or your volunteer position and have brunch, which is served between 9:50 and 11:30. So there's this gap in which they serve 3 batches. So the first 2 batches, you need to make it on time because they only let people in for 7 minutes and then they close the door. Third batch is open batch. So you have about 30 minutes to make it to get your food. It's just, they close the doors because it's less commotion and they just serve everyone at the same time. You can eat peacefully. And also before every meal, we sit down, we listen to the mantra, then we sing a mantra, and then we eat. We eat on the ground, so it's a good idea to get comfortable in seated positions before coming to the ashram, because there's a lot of sitting, and after a while, like my knees, my legs got really uncomfortable, to be honest, even though I thought that I am comfortable sitting in these positions. No. Too much is too much, but some people are used to it, so it was fine for them, of course. After brunch, you go back to your seva, and it depends where your seva is. Sometimes you might get a break in the middle, sometimes maybe it's too busy, you don't get a break. There is a kind of juice break. They're serving juice at 1:30 to 2:30, and then when you finish with your seva in the evening, it will be about probably 5-6 o'clock. It also depends on where your seva is. Some last longer. So you have your practices then and go for dinner, which is from 6:50 till 8:30 or something like that. So still, they have 3 batches. First 2, you need to make it on time. Third one is open batch. And then you have some time for whatever you want to do. Go for a little walk, talk with people, read, I don't know, whatever you want. And then 21:30 p.m. is bedtime, so lights are turned off. You are asked to not use your mobile phone anymore, not talk, and just rest or go to sleep. So I tried going to sleep even earlier, and then I would wake up quite easily in the morning. So this is kind of a schedule in a nutshell. There's different volunteering opportunities. Not all of them are mentioned online. So for general volunteering, which I did, there are positions like Piksha hall or dining hall, so serving food, cleaning, stocking plates, things like that. Then kitchen, so like preparing food, gardening, taking care of plants, weeding, things like that, farming, quite intense because you might be in sunlight all day, very hot, can be physically draining. Then you can be supporting the temples, so outside the temples will be different things like, for example, I had to hold a board saying please maintain silence, and honestly felt like it's the hardest job in the world, because for 9 hours you do this, your eyes start just like closing, and just sitting in one place, or you can of course like walk as well or stand, but that doesn't help much as well, and you're just kind of shushing people, and then a lot of them don't even care. And yeah, if you're supporting inside the temples, it's, if I'm not mistaken, it's one temple is 8 days and the other temple is 18 days. So that's quite intense. It's long hours, and you might have to get up very, very early, like 3 in the morning for it, or come back from it very late at night as well. It really depends what kind of shift you get. I didn't volunteer in them, so I can't tell you in detail, but in one of the temples there'll be a lot of standing, being in peace. In the other temple it will be more of like different rituals. So other sevas, there's like rukshash packing, and other things. I'm not quite sure, like I know there's a lot more, and you find out when you're there, especially if you chat with other volunteers who have been there longer as well. They'll tell you, because they've most likely tried everything there. And there's also opportunity to volunteer in programs. So for example, like there is residential programs happening, so you can volunteer there, like, or for example 3D program for yoga asanas, you can volunteer there. So it's mostly like a checklist, like checking who is coming, like the participants' names, preparing the place, cleaning, things like that. There's also opportunity to volunteer full-time. So I've met several people who have been volunteering there full-time, which means they're there for like a whole year. They'll maybe get a month away, so they'll go visit their family, travel around, or whatever they choose to do, and they come back and just volunteer non-stop. It's like full-time job, but you're not getting paid. But you will get some things like toiletries for free, maybe clothing, I'm not sure, but some kind of support, because you cannot buy these things, obviously, like you're not earning money. So that's about volunteering opportunities. The stay at the dorm where I was staying was quite chill. Like I settled in straight away. I didn't find a problem being surrounded by so many people. Women and men stay at different places, so you're sharing the bedroom with other ladies. And at the beginning there were maybe 20 to 30 women in the room. When closer to the ending of my volunteering, a lot more volunteers came because there was a huge celebration coming. So the room was full. I don't know, like maybe 50 of us were there in one room, and there was another room as well, and a lot of ladies slept in the hall as well. There is like double-decker beds, but many slept on the floor as well. When I just arrived, I slept on the floor because it was so hot, so I just found the fan and slept under it on the floor. With time I got used to the warmth and it was fine. Although by the end someone took over my bed, so I had to move on the floor because there were no more spaces. There is also like a whole area, kind of open space where we can practice, and there is a lot of showers, only cold shower. So before coming I suggest you get used to cold showers. It didn't bother me that much, but washing my hair and like having to wash my dreadlocks like really well so nothing gets stuck in there under that freezing water, that was difficult. We also do laundry by hand. There were instances where people's clothes disappeared or some things disappeared, so even though it's like a spiritual place and you think everyone is coming there with a good heart and all that, still things happen. Things get stolen or yeah. So I've spoken to different volunteers. Some stayed there longer, some shorter, and I was just curious about why are you here? What brought you here? Why are you continuing to stay here for so long, for example? Because I was really curious. So there's different reasons for it. Some people just come out of curiosity, like, oh, what is this all about? What's happening here? I want to see, I want to experience. Some people come there because they're running away from their life, whatever situations are happening. Some are also trying to escape their long working hours, because I met people who work crazy hours, like 16, 18 hours a day. So when they come here, even though some seva might take a long time, like temples, for example, very long hours, still it will be definitely more chill, laid back than 18 hours a day. And you have your set time for like sadhana. Many people come because they lost all hope, basically, like they've reached their rock bottom and they don't know what to do anymore, where to turn. I feel like this is very common with like different spirituality practices and religions. When you hit rock bottom, like these things help you to come out of it a lot of the time. And many people just need some sort of like schedule, discipline. They need to be told what to do, when to do, and in a way it gives kind of security and safety, and also like you don't need to worry, you don't need to think about anything. Everything is given to you, like you need to do this, and like you're kind of in a way also taken care of. So this is from my experience, what I gathered. I've noticed that a lot of people there follow Sadhguru very intensely, very like fanatically even in a way. And like I have talked to some who say like, I'm doing this because Sadhguru said that. You know, Sadhguru said this, so we need to do this. And like, there is no critical thinking at all. It's like blind following. And I know like Bhakti Yoga is like that as well. You just follow your guru, or you just completely devote yourself to something, to someone. But even though I understand this intellectually, I do not agree with it. Like, I just don't feel comfortable with that, because I don't think anyone knows better than you. Nobody knows what's best for you. Nobody can give you all the answers. Nobody knows everything. And I believe that with the practice of yoga, we can learn to listen to ourselves more, to tune in with our body, our mind, our soul, and slowly learn to listen to ourselves and really hear what it is that we need, what is the best for us, what is that we want from this life, and just find that clarity and focus and discipline and everything. Like, we can achieve that through our personal yoga practice. I believe you don't need a guru telling you what you need to do, because how does he know? So this is what I try to teach in my yoga classes as well. I want my students to learn to listen better to themselves, and through this just discover the true nature of themselves and learn to know themselves better. And yoga can definitely help you transform yourself and develop yourself. So this is just my humble opinion. It's definitely like, I understand that different things work for different people, and different people need different things. I forgot to mention, many people go there to work out their karma. And you know, the way they speak about karma and yoga practice in general, Sadhguru was saying, like, through this you can kind of lose this identity you've attached to yourself. But in the same way, now that I'm out of that, I'm looking at it and thinking, you kind of, while being there in that tight, busy schedule, you don't have time to think. Like, you have your practice, you have your seva practice, and you go to sleep, and that's it. Like, and what's wrong with having this kind of identity? Like, having things you like, having things you enjoy, having some sort of goals in life, aspirations, passions. I think it's beautiful. I think it makes us all so interesting. Not just like losing all the identity, putting everything away and just being like empty. So this is how I feel now, gotten out of it. And I guess it's good to not be lost completely in that identity, but completely throwing it away. Like, I don't know, I love having things like that I enjoy, my passions, because they lead me somewhere. Like, I see the path that I want to be going, and yoga is helping me so much through this, of course. And coming back to identity as well, like Sadhguru himself, like, he's got different things that are kind of a part of his identity. Like, look at him riding that motorbike. Like, it's still fun for him. Like, it's still something he enjoys. He's not just gonna throw it away because, like, it's part of my identity. Like, I don't want it. So it's very easy when you're in that spiritual path, especially like in that ashram, to lose yourself completely and like choose to go into that extreme. So it's good to just find middle ground. And I think back to the same topic about following guru, I think you can always learn something from teachers, from gurus, from everyone, really, from everyone around you, from all the situations. the most important thing is not to take everything too seriously and not to take everything in 100%. Just try to be a critical thinker and try to, through practice, through trying and experience, see, okay, this is working for me, I'll use this, I'll take it. But this is not working for me. And you don't have to agree with everything your guru is telling you 100%. Because maybe it's not for you, and it's okay. So that's my opinion. Of course, going back to the ashram programs, so you can attend different programs even if you're a volunteer. You have to pay for them, but they're not very expensive. They'll be like 20-30 euros. There are some more expensive ones, but they're like residential programs for like 5 days. I can't remember the prices now, but they're all still like pretty decent priced, and they've got interesting practices. But what I've noticed, I've attended 2 practices where they taught like physical yoga, so yoga asanas and Angamardana, and I've noticed that they're very structured and very strict in how they're teaching it. So they'll want you to reach your final pose, and it doesn't matter if you're a beginner or you're advanced. And I've noticed so many participants doing the poses, trying so hard to get into that final pose, even though it's like their first time doing yoga. And I think it's so damaging, and you can injure yourself and have unrealistic goals. And they don't say like, don't do this. No, they're just still focusing on that final pose, and they won't have modifications or variations for the beginners. Of course, like if you practice these poses for a while, you will get into the final pose, but through what means? Like you can really damage your body. And in Angamardana, for example, there's a lot of bouncy movements. So imagine you're not able to do forward fold, but you'll be bouncing, and like that movement can overstretch and just, you can injure yourself. So that's what I've noticed, and as a yoga teacher, I do not support that. I know that they're trying to like keep up the traditional techniques, traditional teaching, but I definitely would advise to use props or modify the pose a little bit so that you don't need to get into the final pose right now. With time and practice you will, but you don't have to do that right now. And then some people after these programs say things like, okay, if I don't get into this pose right now, like I'll never get into it. So this is the kind of mindset you get into when you are taught like this. So I definitely don't support it. And those who've been to my yoga sessions, they'll know like yoga blocks and yoga straps are your best friends. If you're a beginner, like definitely use them, help them support you, so that with time you can put them away and you can get into that final pose. But when you're starting, the goal is not the final pose. Just learning to listen to your body and your capabilities. What are you capable? What are you able to do right now? What is your body allowing you to do right now? Like, you don't have to push yourself constantly, and I think yoga is about that as well. Like when you practice, you notice that sometimes you need to push yourself more, and sometimes you need to lay back a little bit and listen that today is not the day, okay? But these all experiences and learning more about yoga helped me to understand what kind of teacher I want to be and what message I want to share with my students. Even though I'm just a beginner teacher, like all this experience is giving me a lot and I'm learning and developing a lot. So I'm very grateful for it. Going back to the ashram again. So when staying there, you can stay at a dormitory, as I mentioned, where I was staying, so that is free. You can also stay at a cottage, which you will need to pay for. And if you want, you can obviously just go there as a guest and rent a cottage or a room, which I wanted to do at the end of my volunteering. Basically, a week or two in, I realized that I just feel like I don't want to be a volunteer anymore. I want to be a guest so I can experience the ashram more, because of busy schedule, I just couldn't really just be here and now in the moment. And also I didn't have much time and energy to practice as much as I wanted. I just felt like I wasn't getting the benefit as well, like the volunteering wasn't giving me what I needed, I suppose, because I went there, my main goal was to deepen my yoga practice, as well as focus and discipline. And with volunteering, it wasn't working out for me. So I went to ask my coordinators if I can become a non-volunteer. I'll pay for the cottage and I'll stay there. And they're like, generally it's not allowed. Okay, so, and they're like, okay, well, we'll find out later, like come back later. Then I come the next day, I ask them again, there's two of them sitting, and they're telling me the same thing again, like generally this is not allowed, but we'll find out for you. And third day, I went to actually ask about the cottages, like it's not my coordinators, it's another place dealing with the cottages. So I asked if they have any available cottages. Turns out they don't have any because celebrations are coming, it's all booked up. And I thought, okay, well, I will not have anywhere to stay anyway, even if I do become a non-volunteer. And still I didn't get an answer from them either way, which I find very weird, because of course you can become a non-volunteer if you want. It's the same as people come there and they realize, I want to stay longer. They can ask to stay longer as a volunteer. Many people do. But of course there's people like me, for example, who come to volunteer and they realize, okay, this is not for me, and become a non-volunteer. What's the problem? I think the problem was that I actually asked them, you should just go and say like, I don't want to volunteer anymore. Because that's what I did. I ended my volunteering early and I just left the ashram. So you'll see that because the ashram is basically run by volunteers, they will not know all the answers. They won't be able to always support you and give you the information you need, because they don't know everything themselves as well. You know, the communication isn't 100%. And as I said, like if it was permanent staff, they would know things, but if it's volunteers, like they're changing and things like that. So yeah, there's a lot of unclarity in that sense. So about the temples itself, I felt like they were really, really crowded. Finally, when I had a day off, I went to the temples early in the morning, so then I could actually feel the benefit, stillness and meditation in the temples. But during the day, when it's really busy, it's so crowded, I really did not feel anything in those temples. I felt like it's quite commercialized as well, like so many visitors, and it's kind of made into a business. That's just how like I see it. Of course, I'm not saying it's all bad. It's helping a lot of people. Like I spoke to people who feel like this is the place for them. They feel really good there. Some people said that they've tried many things, and they practiced different yoga, they practiced different practices, and never felt this way, the way they feel here. So it's nice. For some people it's working and it's the right place for them, and it can be a beautiful community. I think volunteers and like befriending volunteers is one of the nicest experiences there, because you can create a bond, you can find out more about their experiences as well, and just not feel like so alone and all that. Even though when I just came to the ashram, I thought that communication is not allowed because that's what I was told before coming. So I kind of avoided speaking for a couple days. And then after that, I noticed that no, like the girls at the dorm are actually speaking to each other. They're like worrying about each other if they're unwell, or like just taking care of each other and, you know, befriending each other as well. While there is also some volunteers who will limit their communication and kind of keep everything to themselves, just being very focused on the practices and on their seva. So it really depends on what you come there for, and you can definitely learn and take in many different things and benefit from it. But this is my experience, and I'm trying to be as transparent, as open as I can be about this whole process. So even though there are many white people volunteering, still you get looked up and down like daily, especially like if you're around the ashram area, like temples where a lot of visitors come through. They'll be looking up and down you, or asking you questions like, where are you from, why are you here, and things like that. So at the beginning it made me really uncomfortable, but with time I tried to look at it as an opportunity for me to be okay, to be seen. So good practice. And you know, they also don't mean anything bad. It's just that some of them really like haven't seen many white people, and they're curious and they want to chat, to know more. So another fun thing, like you can basically put a bedsheet on and go into the streets. It's so funny. Like, maybe not in big cities, even though it is still some people will do it, but in the ashram especially, like it looks like people put on a bedsheet and just went out. Very easy. So I definitely don't regret ending my volunteering sooner. I got an opportunity now to travel in India and explore more, and I felt like being there just postponed what I want to do, because I had a lot of clarity already. Like I didn't go to the ashram for clarity or for any answers or anything like that. So when I was there, I just thought, okay, I got what I wanted, what I needed. Like that environment is good for focus, discipline. You know, when you surround yourself with people who also practice, it's so much easier to do it yourself. So I was really needing that push to kind of start being okay practicing everywhere as well, and like having the schedule, even though I already kind of had it, but it's just easier in that environment. So yes, I didn't go there to work out my karma. And when I left, I felt a bit of a relief, maybe, like, okay, this is like I'm in the flow again, because there I felt very like constricted. The territory is kind of all closed off. You don't have many places to just go on a walk. It's always so crowded as well, and you can't act on how you feel, like what your body's needing, what you're needing, because you're in this schedule and you're in this place, like you need to do these things. But I love learning. I love living, listening to my inner world and my feelings, my body, and maybe I'm not that great at it yet, but I'm learning, and I'm always trying to do that, to listen to my heart and listen to my body. And I feel like there I wasn't able to do that. And now I'm back into this flow, kind of. And I've noticed, like, you know, for a month, almost, okay, 3 weeks and a bit, like I mentioned before, it's like you're kind of losing your identity in a way. Like when I came back here into the real world, I noticed, like, okay, what was it that I liked? Like, I didn't even listen to music the whole time there, except for mantras. Like, I forgot, like, how much I like to dance, just, you know, relax, let my body flow, and just these certain different things. Like, I was going for a walk the other day in nature, and I missed it so much. And like these little things, I want to experience this human experience that I'm having. I want to have all these, like, passions that I have. Like, I don't want to lose my identity completely. Like, I'm okay with this, and this is my truth, and this is how I want to live. So each to their own, and this is my experience. If you have any questions, feel free to message me. You can also check my stories, my highlights about Isha Ashram, as I mentioned before. I feel like this video was really long, but that is it. Have a lovely day. Thank you for listening.